2026 trends. It's January right now, so we're all forward looking, probably setting resolutions and all of that for ourselves. But let's think about what are the wellness and spirituality trends that are coming in 2026. Some of this is based on research, and some of this is just based on my intuition and things that I'm seeing. So here we go. There are 4 things that I expect that we're going to see in 2026. The first, I think we're going to see the rise of the humble lentil. And what I mean by that is in South Asia, we have so many different lentils that are used, and they're just very everyday foods for us. But I do think that the West is probably going to start catching on, and they're going to rise as more of a superfood. Second trend that I see is we are going to see more herbs and botanicals coming from East Asia. Now, there already have been a ton. I think things that now are very everyday, we forget that they come from East Asia. So things like ginseng or ginkgo biloba, which are used so regularly today. The third trend that I see is we are going to see a much higher focus on body-based work. What I mean by that is somatic healing modalities. I think we are in an era now where the recognition of mind-body connection is there. Even Western medicine is starting to recognize this. And I think we're going to see a lot more healing modalities come out in the somatic space. And fourth, the last trend that I predict for 2026 is around the combination of sort of like luxury wellness. This trend is already there. We're already seeing a lot of boutique studios offering a lot of interesting things, but I think this is going to expand even further, even into the travel space. So I hope that was a helpful summary of what I see as the trends. So time for the deep dive. So in terms of 2026 trends, here's a little bit more detail on why I think we're going to see these more prominently in 2026. So the first trend I mentioned is around the humble lentil. So when I'm talking about humble lentils, I'm talking about things like moong dal, masoor dal, things that are eaten very commonly in South Asian households. And I do think that as people are becoming more vegetarian, more vegan, there's going to be a direction towards alternative, high nutritious sources. And I'm not talking simply about protein, I'm just talking about nutrition in general. One of the reasons I say this is I'm already seeing this come to Western grocery stores. So recently I was at Loblaws, which is a big Canadian chain, and I found this packet. It's called Moong Bunny, and this is not sponsored. And I found this really interesting. So I have a strong background in Ayurveda. I spent a lot of time in Kerala studying it and receiving a lot of Ayurvedic treatments as well. And moong, which is the small green lentil, is considered like the most compatible for all body types, all doshas. And I'll talk about doshas and all of that another time. Now, moong is readily digestible. It is, when consumed with rice in particular, it forms a complete protein, or provides all amino acid sources. Now, this particular product I think is really exciting because in Ayurveda, when people are sort of malnourished or they're really sick, one of the things that is given to them is the broth of boiled moong. And this is very similar to that. It has dehydrated moong dal in it. It has spices in it, ginger, salt, turmeric, coriander, cumin, black pepper, mustard seeds, cilantro. There's no preservatives in it, and I think it's great. And I think it's really awesome that they've made it this way. I'm actually going to take a sip of this so you get to see what it looks like. And like I said, the point of this video is not to be promotional, it's just to share this information with you. And I think there's going to be more Ayurvedic products like this that focus on our humble lentils, and we're going to see more of these. So this very much tastes like the simple mug that we have. If you're Gujarati, you'll know. You'll know what I'm talking about. Mug is a simple lentil that we have pretty much once a week if you're in a Gujarati household, and it is so nourishing, it's so comforting, it's so good for you. And on a side note on this, I feel like moong is so humble that I feel like even in India, when I was traveling, a lot of times I never saw it on a menu. You won't see it because it's not considered like a special food. It's just ghar ka khana, like home food. So yeah, I do think we're going to see more lentils, more humble lentils coming to the forefront, packaged in different ways. This one I really like because this is actually an Ayurvedic formulation and it's being shared in a commercial way. The second trend that I talked about was around the expansion the expansion of more ancient herbs coming from East Asia. And the reason I say this is I've just seen a few different things here and there of different herbs coming from East Asia, maybe being used in skincare. And I'm not talking about Korean skincare. I'm not an expert in that area, but my understanding of that is that that's not necessarily as holistic. Like I think there's still some like technology and chemical formulation behind that. But I do think that there are going to be herbs from East Asia that we're going to start seeing more prominently. Now, the third trend I talked about is around somatics. So somatics, that is looking at the mind-body connection. And in terms of somatic healing, I think there's going to just be so many different healing modalities that are just going to become way more common. So examples of this are one, like somatic exercises, somatic dance, spinal energetics. Now, all of these, they deal with the physical body, but they also deal with the energetic body. Without going too much into yoga philosophy, when we move our bodies, we're not just moving our bodies, we are moving our energy. And when we do things in a particular way, when we access different movements, we are able to move things energetically. And I do think that people are going to be moving more towards somatic-based exercises. Now, the other thing I want to add on this topic is, we have traditional therapy, and traditional therapy is great. That's the talking therapy, talking through things, explaining things. But I do believe that there's so much more wisdom that lives in our bodies that doesn't need to be explained cognitively through our brains. I think sometimes we have an over-reliance on our brains to try to understand things. And I do believe, and I've had personal experiences with somatic work, that you can release the weight of things without having to cognitively understand them or reprocess them in your mind. So I do think that this is going to become a really big trend. And I don't think trend, I think this is something here to stay. I think it's an exciting time for energy workers, body workers. So yeah, an amazing trend. And then the fourth thing that I was talking about is around luxury wellness. And we're already seeing this with boutique studios offering add-ons. There's the red light therapy, there's all this biohacking, you have the ice plunge and the sauna and all of that. And I do think it's going to go, and it's going further than that. Of course, there's like the IV drips and all of this. Where I think this is going to extend is more into the travel space. So luxury wellness is going to move into travel as well. It already is. And I think a lot of hotel chains are picking up on this and incorporating this into their designs, into their offerings, their programs. And the perspective I want to give on this is, first of all, I think it's great. It is wonderful. But the one thing I do want to caution you on is that some things are going to just be a hype, and some things are just going to look aesthetic. And it is going to be very important for consumers, for individuals like us, to recognize what is authentic, what are you going to benefit from, versus what is just like cool or like, trending or just like for aesthetics. And I'll give you an example from my personal experience, which is a few years ago I did a Panchakarma, which is an Ayurvedic cleanse. And this is not like a 1 week retreat, right? Like this is not your spa holiday retreat. This is like serious. You're there. I was there for 5 weeks. There were treatments, there were detoxes, there were like massage therapies. I won't get into all of that. And obviously diet and herbal supplements given. I had have many options of where I could go. It's Kerala. There are so many different places offering panchakarmas and Ayurvedic treatments. And I saw places that had like the pool and the villa style and by the beach and all of that. The place I ended up going to was this it was like a small home. It was run by a husband and wife, both Ayurvedic doctors. It was very simple and humble. But the reason I chose it is because when I spoke to them, and I went to different places and I spoke to the different doctors, they really honored the roots of Ayurveda. And the places with a pool and, you know, going to the beach, yes, those are wonderful, but if you really want to have healing done, you have to look at what is being done to you. In Ayurveda, if you're doing a panchakarma, you don't want to drop your body temperature. Going in the water, swimming, being out in the hot sun, changing your temperature isn't going to be great either. So I opted for not the aesthetic wellness treatment. You know, I opted for the one that felt authentic, and in the end, I did have an incredible experience. Now, that's not to say there's anything wrong with the aesthetic, you know, wellness experiences. I like them too. Like, I love being in a 5-star hotel by the pool, you know, don't get me wrong. Like, I love all of that. But if you are seeking authentic wellness experiences, I just caution you not to get caught up in the look of it, and think about, feel into, do your research of who is administering this, what are the roots of what is being offered, and are you going to get something, you know, that's going to improve your life tangibly. So those are my thoughts on what I see as the 2026 wellness trends. I'd love to hear your perspectives. Was there anything surprising? Was there anything that you think is missing, you think that we're going to see more of in 2026? Thank you for joining, and see you in the next episode.